Everyone wants to get the better deal when buying an air ticket, and there are thousands of myths and facts around it. Have you ever wondered if clearing your browser cookies actually gets you cheaper flights? Or if booking on a Tuesday really makes a difference? What about using a VPN? In this video, we're uncovering the biggest myths about airfares, the ones that not always work, but definitely are worth trying for, and finally, the proven strategies to help you save on your next flight, being the fourth one, the one that changed the game in your favor. First of all, who am I to tell you what to do to get good airfares? Well, I travel a lot, and in all my travels, being for work or fun, I am required to find the best possible deal, either for my company or for my own personal pocket. Also, I have a family of 5 and they also love traveling. So, to make it economically viable, I have learned to use all the tools of the trade and put extensively attention to the travel industry during the last 15 years to always find the best value on an airfare. As a result, I have traveled almost 33 times around the world, and in fact, I'm making this video with my family from Vina del Mar in Chile. I am not rich, I am just smart enough to be able to travel finding always the best possible deal, and I want to share that knowledge with you. So, now that we got that one out of the way, let's talk about air travel fares myths, and let's start with one of the most common beliefs. Booking on a Tuesday or a Saturday or whatever day someone has told you guarantees the lowest fares. Well, this is a myth. Airlines don't release discounted fares on a fixed day of the week anymore. Ticket prices fluctuate primarily based on supply and demand, secondarily by time of booking, and finally, seasonality. That is, peak, middle, or low seasons of the year, or specific events in any of the city pairs involved in the ticket. For example, everywhere in the world, no matter how far in advance you book the tickets or what day of the week it is. During school holidays or Christmas season, you will always expect a surge in prices, because those dates are normally when everyone will want to travel. Also, the same applies for summertime, public holidays, sports, or recreational events, and a long list of other reasons. So, this is the fact. Instead of focusing on the day of the week, use price tracking tools like Google Flights, Skyscanner, and Hopper to monitor fares over time and allow some flexibility to your travel plans if they fall into a high-peak travel season. This one is everywhere. People believe that airlines track your searches and hike prices accordingly, but in reality, they don't really care how many times you have searched for that Los Angeles to Sydney flights. That's not how airline pricing works. Airlines' prices change due to demand and very complex algorithmic adjustments. That granted, sometimes they look like magic, but believe me, not because of your browsing history. But hold on. Cookies in your browser do really help merchants to track your spending habits and create customer profiles of ourselves. That's a fact. But when it comes to flight searches, they do not sway the price in favor or against the buyer in real time. Then let's stick with the fact. Instead of worrying about cookies, use fare comparison sites and set up alerts to catch price drops. Some people think airlines slash prices just before departure. That's not true. Last-minute fares are usually more expensive, especially for popular routes. Think it this way. If you pop out 1 hour before the departure time of a flight to get a seat in clearance prices, then everybody would do the same. Yes, logic says that a paid seat is better than an empty seat. And also, there have been some recorded and documented times when someone got to the airport and flew to the next available departing flight paying a cheap airfare. But those instances are really exceptions, not the rule. Airlines price their seats in a particular flight dynamically, and most of the time, they already made a profit in a flight even with empty seats. So, the fact that busts this myth is to book your flights with as much advance to your flight day. If you need to flight last minute while getting a good fare, then considering using budget airlines, fare alerts, or alternate airports. There are contrasting opinions about the leading time you need to book your flights prior to the travel date. Some people advises that 1 to 3 months in advance for domestic flights and 2 to 6 months in advance for international trips is optimal. And there seems to be data to back this claim. There are instances when airlines release promotions or specials that can save money in the 1 to 3 month flying window. However, these assertions are still not 100% agreed upon. Some experts advise to book as much earlier possible, especially if your flight date falls in high peak season travel, mostly because seasonality, supply and demand are still kings. Tickets in high peak travel season will still be expensive, regardless when you buy it, so it's better to buy it sooner than later. So, factor these in your searches and consider creating fare alerts in Google Flights or Skyscanner. VPNs, or virtual private networks, are services normally offered to trick a server to think you are geolocated in another region that you really are. There are documented cases of airfares being cheaper in one country than another, and this is definitely true. However, this does not apply as a general rule, and it happens because airlines treat markets differently, and it has to do, again, with supply and demand. Sometimes, an airline is fighting for market share with their competition, therefore they are willing to lower the price on a specific route. And as a result, you may find that JFK to Paris flight cheaper if bought as if you are in the US than in Australia. Unfortunately, this strategy is not proven to be effective 100% of the times, and VPN services cost money, so sometimes the savings are not worth of the investment if you are planning to use VPN only for airfare hunting. But do not take me wrong, VPN services are still very useful for other tasks related with travel and, most importantly, to enhance your browsing security. But that's part of another video. Now, let's talk about the proven ones. The actions that really lead you to get cheaper airfares and save you some money. In order of impact on your savings. Instead of guessing, use tools that analyze airfare trends. For example, my search tool of choice is Google Flights, because using their enormous data bank, they can advise you whether an airfare is actually cheaper or more expensive for the date you are searching for. Skyscanner also compares many airlines and OTAs, which stands for online travel agencies. And finally, Hopper predicts whether prices will rise or fall for a specific route in a given date. If available, use alternate airports. In large cities, airports compete with each other, and part of that competition is offering lower levies to attract airlines to operate. Sometimes, those savings are passed on to the passenger. For example, Paris has 2 main airports, New York has 3, London, a whopping 4 airports to choose from. In Australia, Melbourne area has 2 airports, and Sydney soon will have 2 as well. Of course, you have to consider that alternate airports also are farther away from city centers, and you have to run your numbers to cater for extra transport to and from those airports. Maximize rewards. Use credit card points, airline miles, and status perks that can drastically cut your airfare costs. If you haven't explored these options, you might be leaving money on the table. I, for example, use 2 credit cards, one for maximize points and another one to get status in some airlines. I will leave the link to the video in the description below if you want to check my advice on how to use those to get business class perks with economy class prices. And this is the ultimate money saver. The more flexible with your dates you are, you will save. This involves you analyzing the route you want to buy tickets for and check the daily trend using tools in, for example, Google Flights. Sometimes a night stopover can save you hundreds of dollars, even including the cost of a hotel night. And you know what? You can even get to know a new destination. Also, High-demand routes are never cheap, especially if they are underserved, and there is little seat offer available. For example, you can find good deals for routes between Australia to Europe or between Australia to the US because they are decently served by tens of airlines that cater for the massive demand that exists. But on the other hand, Australia to South America routes, even with less demand, are still underserved only by two airlines, making the art of finding tickets very hard. Let's say you want to travel to Machu Picchu in Peru from Melbourne, Australia. Your fastest way will cost you around 2,400 Australian dollars, connecting via Santiago in 19 hours. However, flying from Melbourne to Los Angeles and then from Los Angeles to Lima will cost you 2,000 Australian dollars plus 10 hours and a stopover in Los Angeles. It is up to you to decide if those 400 Australian dollars are worth the hassle. That is a matter of personal choice. In my case, sometimes I have to fly with my family, and we are 5 passengers, so in this particular fictional case, that will amount to $2,000 in savings, so you can easily guess which option I ending up taking. I use a great tool to find what the offer between two city pair is, and it's called flightconnections.com. In there, you can select two cities of your choice and check which airlines offer the flight directly and connecting. And from there, you can analyze even more pricing data from the website. I must say, this is not sponsored by Flight Connections whatsoever. You can use the free version of the website and still get good features that will help your airfares money-saving hunt. So let's recap. Forget the Tuesday booking myth. Stop worrying about incognito mode. Avoid last-minute bookings for non-emergency travel. Use price tracking tools and alerts. Leverage points and miles whenever possible. And most importantly, stay flexible with your travel dates and airports, and study the route and offer from different airlines in your particular city pair. Now tell me, what's your best trick for finding cheap flights? Let me know in the comments. Do you want me to help you to get the best airfare for your next adventure? Of course, I am happy to help. Leave your comment below. And if you found this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more travel tips. See you in the next video. Happy travels, and thank you for being part of the last boarding call.